Guys, Coach Kurt. So I was wanting to respond to a question I got. I don't know if it was an actual question or if he was just thinking out loud in the question remarks, if he wanted an answer. But the question was, why do people make fun of people who do martial arts but not wrestling? And I'm going to broaden the whole concept of that question, and I'm going to say, why do people make fun of traditional martial arts and not like combat sports such as MMA, wrestling in general, Greco, freestyle, folk. Sambo is basically a mix between wrestling and judo, although you could argue judo is a wrestling system just with a jacket. I mean, that's basically what it is. We're talking about these type of things. Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing, basically where the rubber meets the road, combat sports. People see combat sports and they know they're getting something legitimate. You watch a boxing match, you watch a kickboxing match, a judo match, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Sambo, MMA, you get the idea. I mean, I'm going down a long road of names here. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm talking about. Within the context of the rules, you see what's happening, and you're like, yeah, that obviously works. That's legit, because you've got some individual who's resisting to the best of his ability, actively resisting athletically and with skill, and the other person has to athletically and with skill overcome that resistance. And that's one of the reasons why we love sports. I'm Gen X. I come from the 80s where I grew up doing, traditional martial arts, grew up watching Chuck Norris movies and Bruce Lee movies, and I fell in love with that stuff. Thought it was cool. Because of those movies, I ended up starting my martial arts journey. And I still consider myself a traditional martial artist. Now, I cross-train quite a bit in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I dabble in Judo. I'm even looking at an Eskrima school right now. I'm thinking about taking up one day a week. But I still consider myself a traditional martial artist. And even though I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I consider that a traditional martial art. I mean, it's been around since 1925, according to the Gracies. It's basically a derivative of judo. I did an entire video on that. But guys, it's not the traditional martial art that is the issue. It is the training method and concept and what they try to sell you. Let me really boil it down for you. We have access to the internet. You're watching this very video on YouTube. If you want to look for BS martial arts skills, their entire YouTube channels based on like catching BS crap made up martial arts. And we see a lot of that now, plus this sensational movies that are out, especially if you're from my generation, Gen X. Those ninja movies back in the day, like American Ninja, oh my God. You look back at them now, they're so horrible, but we loved them as kids. But I guess where this is going is people automatically assume, because it is a traditional martial art, right, wrong, or indifferent, that it's Bushido, that it's BS, and that you have to practice something like mixed martial arts or, something like that to get something quality. Now, you're probably a traditional martial artist, or at least have cross-trained in traditional martial arts if you're someone who watches my channel. Again, I consider myself a traditional martial artist. What I have done is try to change the style in which I train. Again, I like to use Japanese Jiu-Jitsu as an example, because you can see from one extreme to another. You can see within a system, and I'm going to use Danzanryu as Jiu-Jitsu as an example, because you can have multiple Jiu-Jitsu federations, associations that represent something like Danzanryu Jiu-Jitsu, and depending on which organization you belong to, that system and style can look very different from just how people practice it. You'll have people who practice their traditional martial arts, or in this case, Danzanryu, very soft, very kata-ish, very broken down, almost like Aikido, where it's like very little resistance, and it just doesn't seem very practical for real-world fighting. And then you'll have people who are doing something quite the opposite. It's danzanryu with a very judo flavor, because pretty much all the throws you'll find in judo, you'll also find in danzanryu jiu-jitsu. So that's why I like using it as an example. Plus they have their entire yawara side, where they're doing all the joint locks and takedowns like you would find in Hapkido or Aikido or small circle jiu-jitsu, the wrist locks, elbows, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. You know what I'm saying. Listen, why I think people make fun of these things is because just how bad it has gotten before it got better. Again, today in this world, we have YouTube, we have TikTok, we have all these social media sites. It is so easy to call out the BS. And people have access to that media, and they can quickly determine really quick, this guy claims to have 10 different black belts and he's a multi-master in all these systems, including 5 systems that this individual made up. And he has that one-touch knockout power, and people see that, and they're driving down Main Street, their city, and they see karate, whatever dojo, or Japanese jiu-jitsu dojo, and they automatically assume that it's BS like that. And that's unfortunate. I think that's really unfortunate, because there are a lot of traditional martial arts schools. I would say probably the majority of traditional martial arts schools out there are solid, good training, good martial arts. And how you practice it, or in what context you're practicing that system. For example, I'll use Kodon Judo. You could be a classic traditional Kodon Judo practitioner, and all you practice it for is for the betterment of yourself physically. You're doing the kata, you're doing the atemiwaza that goes along with the old kata and traditional Kodokan, and you're older, you've got injuries, and you're like, hey, this is how I maintain my martial arts practice, and this is how I keep it going. Versus, Olympic judo. You can have one system that do things completely different from school to school. So to wrap it up, the reason I think people, again, make fun of these things is not a complete understanding. We live in a time where you can get any information you want off of YouTube, but I guarantee you that probably the majority of people that are watching this video aren't even going to watch it till the end. I'll have comments in my comment section based on maybe the first 60 seconds of the video, and they're like, hey, but this is how it is. And you're like, well, you obviously didn't watch the entire video, because I answered the question or addressed that situation like 5 minutes into the video. So people have short attention spans, they don't do the research, and they automatically assume something. So anyway, I hope I answered your question. I hope that you guys understand where I'm coming from. Basically, at the end of the day, I'm saying it's not, traditional martial arts is just as good and feasible as any other modern system of MMA or some modern system that practices, aggressively, like wrestling or boxing or what have you. It can be just as good and just as realistic for self-defense. It just boils down to how you train. All right, everybody, take care, stay safe, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, and share.
Oh my God, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean it. Are you all right?
I'm fine. I shifted my internal organs to avoid the knife. However, like a lot of beginning students, you attacked me wrong.
Oh.
Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out.